Today, we're diving into a really powerful and, honestly, pretty controversial law in India, Section 80 of the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita. It was created to fight the absolutely horrific crime of dowry death. But this isn't just about legal jargon. It's a law that's trying to tackle a social problem that goes back generations. A social evil that has become a curse. Wow, I mean, that really hits you, doesn't it? This single line gets right to the heart of why this law even exists. It's a battle against a practice that has tragically cut short the lives of so many young women, making it much more than just a legal issue. All right, so here's our game plan for today. First, we're going to explore why a law this strong was even necessary. Then, we'll get into the nitty-gritty of the legal definition. After that, we'll look at its most shocking feature, something called the presumption of guilt. Then we'll see how it all plays out in actual court cases. And finally, we'll zoom out and ask the big question: can a law really change a society? So, let's start with the why. Why was such a powerful law needed in the first place? Well, it's because dowry death is seen as this exceptionally awful crime, something so heinous that it demanded a legal response that goes way beyond the normal rules of law. You see, this is a deep-rooted custom where demands for money or goods from the bride's family don't just stop at the wedding. They often continue. And when they're not met, it can lead to terrible harassment, cruelty, and sometimes even death. Section 80 was designed specifically to fight this. And the law isn't messing around. The punishment for this crime is severe, a minimum of 7 years behind bars, and it can go all the way up to a life sentence. That's the legal system making a very clear statement about how serious this is. Okay, so what legally makes a death a dowry death, in the eyes of the court? The law is incredibly specific about this for a very good reason. And here it is. This is the core of it all. It lays out a few key conditions. The woman's death has to be from unnatural causes. It must happen within the first 7 years of her marriage, and, this is crucial, it has to be proven that soon before her death, she was facing cruelty or harassment over dowry. Think of it like a legal checklist. For the prosecution to get a conviction, they have to prove every single one of these 5 ingredients, which were really cemented in the famous Shanti v. State of Haryana case. You need the death within 7 years, it has to be unnatural, there must have been cruelty, that cruelty has to be linked to dowry, and it all has to have happened soon before she died. If even one of these pieces is missing, the whole case can just fall apart. Okay, now we get to what makes this law so unique and, frankly, so controversial. It completely flips the court principle of justice on its head. This is a huge deal. Normally, in criminal law, you're innocent until proven guilty. The state has to prove you did it. But Section 80, if those 5 conditions we just talked about are met, does something radically different. It shifts the entire burden of proof. And this slide just lays it out perfectly, right? In a standard case, the state has to prove guilt. But in a dowry death case, the accused is actually presumed to have caused the death, and it's up to them to prove they're innocent. It's a total reversal. So you've got to be asking, why take such a drastic step? Well, the logic's pretty grim, but straightforward. These crimes almost always happen behind closed doors, inside the family home, with no outside witnesses. This legal presumption is a tool, a powerful one, designed to overcome the fact that direct evidence is so incredibly hard to come by. All right, so we have this incredibly powerful law on the books, but how does it actually play out in the real world, in a courtroom? Because having a strong law is one thing, getting justice is a whole different ballgame. You'd think with this presumption of guilt, getting convictions would be a slam dunk, right? Well, not so fast. Prosecuting these cases is still an uphill battle, often because of messy family dynamics and major problems with evidence. And this quote from a real case, it just tells you everything. In this case, State versus Amit Kumar, the prosecution's star witnesses, get this, the victim's own father and brother took back their original statements in court. They turned hostile, and without their testimony, the prosecution's case completely crumbled. The accused walked free. Here's another classic problem prosecutors face. In this particular case, the very first report filed with the police had nothing in it about dowry demands. Those allegations only popped up in later statements. That made the court suspicious, wondering if the dowry story was a credible accusation or maybe just an afterthought. So when you put it all together, you can see the mountain that prosecutors have to climb. You've got witnesses getting pressured into changing their stories, deaths being disguised as accidents or suicides, and the huge legal challenge of proving a direct, live link between the harassment and the death. It's tough. And all of this brings us to the big final question. We've got this powerful piece of legislation, but what can it really do? What are its limits? Let's be clear about the goal here. Section 80 is meant to be a massive statement. It's there to hold families accountable, to protect the dignity of women, and to send a clear, unambiguous message that society will not stand for this kind of evil. It's a tool for justice. And that's where we'll leave it, with this one big lingering thought. Section 80 is a powerful legal weapon, no doubt, but it's operating in a world of deeply entrenched customs and social pressures, which makes you wonder, can a law, no matter how strong, really change a society on its own? Or does society have to be ready to change for the law to